From Hong Kong, Chicago, and the city of Stoke-on-Trent, this is the Classic Lenses Podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 141. My name is Simon Forster and I'm joined by Johnny Sisson and Perry G. Hello, Johnny.
Hello.
Hello, Perry.
Yo.
And we're doing this show as I think it's a proof of life, really, isn't it? We are still here. I think it's actually just over 4 weeks since our last show, which almost feels like it's a confession. Forgive us, we have sinned, which is actually quite true. But I'm sure that we have, and so we're seeking penance by doing another podcast. But before we get going on that one, the first thing I want to do is thank I can't say last week's guest, can I? Our last guest that was on here, and that was Anil Mystery. Who did an absolutely super job of sitting in for Johnny, and we had a damn good chat, and he sold out all of his photo book as well, which was great, because that photo book that he did was wonderful, and something that came out of that show, which it's just worth recapping on, is we have a competition running, and that is you will win a copy of Anil's photo book, and you can't even buy it anymore now, so it's extra special. This is about the only place you can get one of these things still in its cellophane wrapper, and that is to send us a cameragram, which isn't like it's a sort of anagram based on cameras, if you haven't already worked that one out, and that's so what we're after is a combination of lens names, camera names that go together, that form a phrase or word or sentence, which is really funny, because it really needs to be funny or clever or witty, something on those lines, and the winner will get a copy of Anil's book. And we haven't worked out when we're going to decide to check everybody's entries. We've had quite a few, but there's still time to get in there, and we haven't worked out how we're going to judge it, but we'll probably get a guest in to help us, much the same way as we had Graham Jago from the Sunday 16 podcast manfully get through the haikus that we had last time. So
yeah, and because the prize is mint and rare now, stop using those online anagram generators.
Yeah, that's just, it is cheating. I mean, there's no way we're going to be able to tell, but yeah, just sticking words into a website and just see what it spews out. Come on, you can do better than that. Yeah, so
it's COVID. You got free time.
Yeah, and you know what? We should set an algorithm up that will actually sift out these computer generated answers. So there you go. They won't get through. So there. Right, well, onto this week's show, because I know that Johnny's in the background there thinking, "Oh, why are we doing another competition?" Well,
I didn't even whisper it, Simon. How did you know?
Yeah, exactly. We could just feel it. You can sense it. We're in 3 time zones, and we could just feel the frustration building up from the Chicago.
I don't even have the video on.
At least we're not giving away a lens.
I was just gonna say, at least it's not like some bogus ass lens that we're giving away
to help Simon get rid of his, stash on his hoard, empty out his hoard.
Well, that's probably a good time to mention our other long-running competition at this moment, and that is what? yes, we have another competition that's been running for quite some time, and actually somebody. Oh no, it has not been entered properly, other than by Mike Gutterman. Mike Gutterman's the only man or woman or person that's actually done what we asked, and that's to drink some Jeppson's Malort on air, or rather on video live, and we want to see your reaction, and you've got to mention the podcast at the same time, or else it'll be void. But so far, Mike Gutterman is the only entry into that competition, and Mike wants some competition. He's Actually, no, he doesn't. Actually, I think he already just wants to win the prize. But the prize is a Raynox 135mm f2.8 wet on wet bokeh lens. That's the important piece about that. And I haven't looked at it for so long, I can't even remember what mount it's on. I think it's M42.
Have we not given this thing away already?
No.
Oh my god.
It shows that our listeners are good at doing a cost-benefit analysis.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they recognize that the mental, physical, and personal cost of drinking Malort is significantly outweighs the benefit of a Raynox lens.
Life skills, you degenerates. Good decision making. Make good choices.
So yes. There is no finish date for that competition. It's just going to happen when somebody enters it, and then we can go. Who will go up against Mike, who's done an absolutely brilliant job. And if you haven't actually seen Mike drinking Malort on our behalf, head over to our YouTube channel, which is Classic Lenses Podcast YouTube channel. Which, frankly, is probably the only thing worth watching on there, because most of the time it's just looking at a stills picture and listening to us, which you've probably already heard it. But in this case, you will actually see him drinking Malort, and it's priceless. Right, so on to this week's show, and let's head over to the Hong Kong scene and Perry G.
Okay, I haven't been up to that much. After our last show, I went out and I shot a roll of film on the Bessa R4M and with a Canon 25mm f3.5 LTM lens. So that was pretty cool. Just, getting out there and shooting some film. That combo is so sweet. When we did our Christmas special, that was one of the things on my wish list, and it is, it's worth every little. I think it's worth every penny. So
I was going to say that was Christmas 2019, wasn't it? But I don't think we did a Christmas special this time round, did we?
No, we did not, because Christmas did not exist last year.
Yeah, it wasn't quite so special.
Form. No, I don't think I even. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even buy any lenses at that period. I'm still technically, I think, gas free. Simon disputes this, but I haven't bought anything since October, although I have bought two things and then I have unbought them. But the streak is kind of officially over, because the two things I sort of went for were Lomography did this Kickstarter where they announced a new lens. It's called the Lomography Atoll. It's a 17mm f2.8 M mount lens that also comes in other mirrorless mounts. And when they launched their Kickstarter, it looked really cool. It was like ultra wide f2.8, nice looking lens. And they had an early bird discount of, I think, $150 off of the list price. And so they launched that, and I was like, oh, it's day one. I see this campaign. There's this huge discount. Let me put in a pledge for this lens, because Lomography always delivers on their Kickstarters, and we'll see how it goes. And then as soon as I bought it, I was like, what the hell do I need another ultra wide f2.8 lens for? When am I going to use this over the Biogon? And I decided the answer was never, because it's pretty big. And then they extended the early bird discount first for 48 hours, and then it seemed kind of indefinitely until they filled up all the sales. And that sort of pissed me off. So I was like, yo, you did this marketing trick to trick me into buying it on day one. Screw that. And I canceled my pledge. So I no longer have purchased that lens, even though it does look cool, And I haven't actually owned any of the new Lomography lenses. I only have, some of the older ones. So you guys have seen that lens, right? It was marketed fairly heavily and featured on like a whole bunch of websites.
Right.
Yeah. But I just want to pick up on something about Kickstarter, really. Heading off in a tangent, but on the large format photography podcast about a month ago, we had Matt Beckberger of Ravenny Labs on talking about his Kickstarter for his spot meter, which, interesting enough, that works in the same way as the Voigtlander Contour, if that's the way you say contour viewfinder. So the one that you use one eye to look into a blank space, to give you like the frame lines, while you keep your other eye open to actually see what you're doing. If that
Wait, the spot meter?
Oh, that's how the spot meter works. Yeah, it's exactly the same principle.
How does a spot meter work the same way as a viewfinder?
Well, the viewfinder was like using frame lines.
Yeah,
and that you couldn't see through, but you used your other eye to actually see, and therefore you were using the contour viewfinder just to give you the bright lines, if you like. So you put bright lines in your vision, and the idea is that you actually focus on the spot, right in the center of the spot meter, and because your eye is focused in that exact position, then if you use your other eye to look around and sort of move your head rather than move your eyes, it actually follows that spot is exactly where you're looking. It's utterly bizarre, but don't forget you can actually see the spot with your, almost as if like you see your spot with the open eye, but you can't. But your head superimposes it in there, and it works. I mean, I did an experiment by just looking through almost like a pinhole through a lens cap. It's exactly the same principle, and this tiny little hole that I could see almost nothing through, but I could see a little bit through there, was exactly the same point where I was actually looking. So in practice it works. It starts to get a bit iffy when things get a bit too close, because you get a parallax error. But I think after about 5 feet away or something like that, it sorts itself out, and chances are you're not going to be spot metering at 5 feet anyway. But the point I was making wasn't really going to be talking about the spot meter, which I backed, by the way. And I'm not sure if the Kickstarter's finished now. I don't know, but it was massively oversubscribed. I think 800% last time I looked at it before it closed. But interesting enough, he did not do an early bird package. In fact, I don't think he did any packages at all. He did very few. And we felt, well, what's the point? And he proved it, because there was no real incentive to actually buy sooner, and he was massively oversubscribed because ultimately he did it at a good price. So people are thinking, this is a modern piece of equipment. It's not going to be for everybody. There's there are going to be plenty of people who prefer a traditional spot meter, but for people like me that like to use one occasionally but don't want to carry around 2 meters. It's a great little thing. So I've backed it, and I'm happy. So well done to Matt of Ravenny Loves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just looked that up, and it's so it's not the little tiny one.
No.
That works like the sort of Voigtlander shoe mounted meter, right? This one looks kind of like the head of a hammer, and has a big optical piece that you stick your face into.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's novel.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So back to Lomography and their Kickstarter that you unbought.
Yeah. I don't I don't really have much else to say about it, because nobody has the lens, right? Because they haven't released it yet. I think they're supposed to start shipping. There's 12 hours to go on the Kickstarter as we record. And then they're probably going to start shipping, relatively soon. But the $150 discount is still alive in the last 12 hours. It says act fast. You only have 24 hours to save up to 150 USD, when in fact there are 12 hours left in the campaign. So that is a lie. Yeah. It looks like a cool lens, though. I mean, it's relatively compact. I don't know. I haven't tried any of these new Lomography lenses. Simon, I think you're the only one you have a Petsfall, right?
I've got the 58, which has been replaced now. I think there's a new version of it as well. I don't know if it's more Petzval than the previous one. Yeah, but I love it. I'll say I love it. I haven't shot it for absolutely ages. But when actually that was one we had a fair talk about last winter when I ended up going out with that lens and going out with an Industar collapsible Tessar lens, which I grimaced while I was using it, and smiled all the time while I was using the Petzval, and it was the Tessar that delivered all the good photographs, and not one of them really was from the Petzval. But I really enjoyed using the Petzval, so I don't know. Pays your money, takes your choice, really, I suppose.
Yeah, it looks like a cool lens, and I know a couple people who have backed it, but the marketing campaign I think was actually what put me off of it. I don't know why, but something like that really annoys me. They're like, you're gonna get a discount if you buy it in the first 24 hours, and then like after the 24 hours they go, that discount still exists. I found that irritating.
Yeah, not clever.
Yeah. Apart from that, so the thing that actually ended my gas is I ordered a lens, an uncoated 35mm f2.8 Carl Zeiss Jena Biogon for Contax RF mount from a seller in Taiwan, and it arrived, and the rear cleaning marks that they said had no effect on the image were actually pretty severe. And if I stopped down to f8 and beyond, you could definitely see them in the image. Where at f22, it looks like a picture of cleaning marks. Where they're so it wasn't even cleaning marks. The rear element sticks out so much that clearly this lens had been like placed down on its rear element multiple times, or used with a lens cap that was too short. And so it was pretty scratched up right in the middle. And so it was one of those situations where a couple of cleaning marks, they're really not going to show up in an image, but this was so severely marred in the middle that stop down, you literally could just see all of them. And that's no good. So I sent it back for a refund, and then I have just ordered another one from a seller in Austria this time. So fingers crossed that this one, which is described as mint glass, will hold up. Because when I tested it wide open, it looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm slightly surprised you went for that actually in the first place, because I mean, as we know, not so much marks, but scratches at least on the rear element of the lens is always going to be the worst place to have them. So that's usually a real red flag to me. I can get away with it. You don't want cleaning marks anywhere, but I can live with them on the front. But on the rear of a lens, I usually just keep well away. I just move on.
Yeah, I mean, this was a seller that I trust a lot, and the description was light cleaning marks on the rear that have no impact on the image. So I figured, screw it. The price was right. Let's give it a shot. But and then they're very gracious about it and accepted the return and everything. So I'm not out of pocket or anything. But you don't want stuff on the rear, but again, one or two light cleaning marks really doesn't bother me. But this was pretty heavy, Yeah.
I would also think I don't know if it would make any difference or not, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, because that rear element is so close to the film plane or sensor, does that make it easier or does that exacerbate the problem, or do optics just not really work that way, and it's just going to be the same whether it was a centimetre away from the sensor, or whether the fact is super close to it?
I don't know, because when you stop down to like f11, f16, f22, then the depth of field is great enough that you can see sensor dust, for example. So the sensor is definitely within your depth of field at that point.
Yeah.
And so given that this rear element is so close to the sensor, it makes sense that those marks would show up as well. But at the same time, if the rear element is further away from the sensor and further forward, it shouldn't matter, right? Because when you've stopped down, your focus point is not going to be behind the lens. And so your depth of field will stretch from wherever you're focused to the sensor if your sensor dust is showing. So wherever that rear element is, it should fall within that depth of field, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way to yeah, that totally makes sense, because there's no lens that focuses behind the front element as its minimum focus distance.
No.
Right. So if your sensor dust is showing up, then any marks on the rear element should also fall into that depth of field, and so you can see if they have a notable effect on the image.
That would also make sense why it's probably more of a problem with a wide angle lens than it will be with a telephoto lens as well.
Yeah, because of that depth of field, right? I think you're going to struggle on a telephoto lens to make sensor dust show up in the same way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I guess no, you don't even need to verify this. Like, just logically, that has to be the case, right? If your sensor dust is in the image, then rear marks that would show up would also be in the image. Why do you look so sheepish? Like, mathematically, Johnny, I'm right? It has to be the case.
What's that?
Like, if your sensor dust is in the image,
Yeah.
then any marks on the rear element that are bad enough to affect the image will also show up.
Maybe.
Here's why. So here's a camera, right? So
I think it depends on the. I think it depends a lot more on the focal length of the lens.
yeah, totally.
Some other odd variables, such as.
But you can. But the whole point here is, like, if the damage to the rear element, if the scratches are severe enough that they would show up,
Yeah.
then if you stop your lens down to the point where your sensor dust is visible,
Yeah.
then necessarily any marks that are bad enough to show up will also show up at that point.
Yeah. I think they'd have to be really bad, though.
Yeah, like they were on this Biogon. Again, yes, like you have to assume that the rear element damage is bad enough that it would show up. And
okay.
if it would show up, then at a point where your sensor dust is visible, those marks would also be there.
Yeah, more or less, right? That's makes sense.
Because here's why. Like, here's camera, right? So your sensor is here. Here's the film plane, right? Or where your sensor is. Yeah. And so in order for the sensor dust to show up, you have to have stopped down enough so that the depth of field includes the sensor. Right?
Yeah.
Yes? So the focal point of the lens, where you're focused, is always going to be in front of the lens.
Right.
Right? And so the depth of field is going to stretch at least from that focal point to the sensor. And the rear element is necessarily in between that spot. The front element too, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like, so this seems pretty simple. And so if you want to check if like a scratch on the rear element is bad enough that it's going to show up in the image, then point your camera to blank wall, stop down to like f22, and if you can see your sensor dust, you should be able to see the scratch as well. If you can't see the scratch, then it's not going to affect your image at any aperture.
Yeah, it's a good rule of thumb, I would say, right?
Yeah, we both agree with you, Perry.
Okay. Well, no, Simon, you were standing there with this look on your face of pure skepticism.
No, well, yeah. Just listening to that whole conversation we just had there. I was listening to I think it's probably, I'm not sure it was, episode 3 of I Dream of Cameras with Gabe Sachs and Jeff Greenstein, and Gabe was talking about our show a little bit. And he in passing, and he was saying how he likes his lenses, and then you listen to us going on about really nerdy things. I was thinking, oh my word, we've just taken nerdery to a whole new level just there, talking about sensor dust, depth of field, and so on. So there you go. Do listen to that show, by the way. When we're taking like 4 weeks to actually get a podcast out, it's well worth checking them out as well, because they cover similar kind of things to us, and they do a good job of it.
Mm. Yeah. So final thing on that though. I mean, have you ever shot with a lens that is, somewhat poor condition or damaged, and stop down enough that you can literally see the damage?
I've seen fungus. In fact, not so much fungus. I think I probably would have talked about this in a really early show. The first Mir 1 that I had, I took a shot with it, and I was forcing flare into the shot. Mm-hmm. So it was a close up shot, I think. Actually, I don't know. I'm not even sure if I was even taking the shot. I think I was just pointing the lens towards the strong light, knowing that it's got a reputation for doing interesting flare, and I could see what I thought was fungus in my image, and this is with a mirrorless camera, by the way, and then, which I hadn't seen, because I'd looked through the lens before and I hadn't seen it, and then so I made a real effort when I got home to spot this, and I could actually see where somebody had actually cleaned the fungus out of it, and what I was actually seeing was where the fungus had etched into the surface by eating the coatings or whatever it's doing. Yeah. So that was what I could actually see, and I don't think I was even that stopped down. In fact, I wasn't stopped down. It was, I think it may have been wide open, but it was just the light coming into it so strongly. It highlighted it, and that was internally in the lens. It wasn't on the rear element, by the way. It was one of the internal elements.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because that's flare, right? So with flare and bokeh balls and stuff, you're kind of seeing the element, light reflecting off the element itself, as opposed to the damage becoming part of the image because you've stopped down enough and you can sort of see it superimposed onto the photo, which is what I was seeing with this Biogon.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't buy a lens like you did.
Fair enough. I mean, but if you take Simon, is you who has the screwed up Jupiter 3, the Sandsock one?
Yeah, front element, Sandsocked on the front element, yes.
But theoretically, the front element should still be within that depth of field, right?
Oh, we still doing that? Oh, okay.
I don't know. Now I'm questioning my own logic.
No.
Because if your front element is crazy scratched up, but that doesn't really show up.
No.
It won't. It won't.
No.
Because the internal focus point, because you've got the external focus point, right? But then there's also that sort of point in the lens where the focus inflects, and it also needs to focus onto the sensor. So maybe that's the point that matters. I don't know. I'm kind of talking on my ass now.
Wait,
Jason Lane, help.
Jason Lane, yeah, we need Jason. Go have a chat with him.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, there's our little journey into rear element damage. The last thing, this has nothing to do with me. It's just something that's happened. Let's call it market news, the GameStop of lenses. All right, so last year I was in the market. I've wanted this particular lens for a while now, and last year they were hovering just under $1,000 and I was like, I don't really want to pay that much for this lens, even though it's a pretty sweet lens. And that's the Olympus Om 21mm f2, which now is selling for like $3,000-$4,000. And I swear last year they were like $1,000. And the price of this lens has gone absolutely through the roof. And I have absolutely no idea why. You know, I think Lawrence Dunn told us that the cinema people have discovered this lens. But just FYI, if you were in the market for this lens, last year it was about $1,000. Now it costs more than an MP. What's up? Do either of you know what the heck is going on here?
No. Complete news to me.
I mean, I stopped paying attention to those when they were $500 because I'd rather have the 3.5 anyway because it's smaller. But I have no, I mean, it must have just somebody decided it was like the cine lens everybody needs to have or something.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's ultra wide and it's really, really fast for a 21mm. It's a great lens, but you know, sometimes certain lenses that are scarce, you might have a few people listing them on eBay for stupid prices that no one is going to buy. But then when you look at the sold prices, people are actually paying like $4,000 for these things. And that's crazy. That's one of the fastest, inflationary rises I've seen in a lens in a long time. because the price of everything has crept up, and sometimes they jump up a bit when they become more popular, or people mention that. But good Lord, this thing is nuts. Like I'm gonna do a quick search right now. Olympus 21mm f2. The cheapest one on eBay that I see is 3,000 euros, or just around 3,000 euros. And then in the sold category, we have, they're selling for around that, actually selling for around that price. So, crazy. I just wonder, are people pumping the price on this and trying to like offload their stock, or is this a legit thing? Because can a lens jump from $1,000 to $3,000-$4,000 in a few months, especially in a pandemic? Like, what the hell? My point is, I want this lens, and if you want to sell it to me for $1,000, get in touch.
There's one that just got listed. That's it's a $0 bid start. Get your bids in, Perry. It's $2.34 is where the bidding's at right now.
Okay,
actually, hold on. I'm gonna go bet $2,000 on it. I'm gonna go bid $2,000 on it. Let's watch it go up. I'm gonna do it right now. Hold on.
Oh, it is. Okay, it did just pop up. Okay, I'm gonna watch this one because the last one I watched that was on auction from zero, I think it sold for like just over $3,000 or just under $3,000.
Oh shoot! I can't log into anything anymore on this computer. I'm never on it. Let me do it on this one.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, is a little side note because I'm just seeing what else comes up on eBay, and I spotted that there's a silver nose Olympus 50mm 1.4. And which is a pretty interesting lens, and it was on it's on at £89 plus postage, which I'm thinking that's not a bad price for that lens. But I'm thinking I have never seen a silver nose Olympus 1.4 51.4 without fungus, and I thought, well, let's just have a look at the description. And what does it say? There is some internal fungus visible only under certain light angles. Well, there you go. That's so
like when you make it flare,
exactly. So yeah, my view that all silver nose 50mm 1.4 Olympus OM lenses have fungus is so far still intact.
Ooh, all right. Well, now it's $213. I just bumped a bit up on it.
No, but Johnny, this one is one of those eBay scammy ones because in the description it's like get in touch with me directly, and it's like info@pawnshop.pro.
Oh, that's fine. Right? I just want to drive the price up on it.
Yeah, but it's one of those with it. They're not actually trying to, trying to sell it on eBay. The price goes.
Yeah. There's the question. So anyway, the question there is do they even have the lens at all, isn't it?
Yeah, the answer is probably not. But if any of you have that lens, then consider yourself lucky. If you don't want it, then you know where to contact me. So that's pretty much it on my end. And since people in Hong Kong are fleeing en masse to the UK, I think the natural segue here is to go from Hong Kong to the UK. What's up there, Simon, with your long Goldilocks flowing locks?
Yes, well, as you know, the UK is the welcoming arms to all people of other nations, as we've made it very, very clear over these last years. So we have an interesting lens that I've picked up quite some time ago now, it seems, but not many podcasts ago, and I've put this out onto Instagram and a couple of places, and it's a Minolta lens because I saw for sale locally a Minolta, I think it's a SRT 303, I think that's what it is, and it had a 50mm 1.4 on it. There's a 135 2.8. And I could see there was another lens, and I looked at the price, and it was about £200, something like that. And so I was thinking, yeah, that's not bad. But I mean, there's a bit of a drive to go and get it, and I was thinking maybe. And then I looked at it, and I looked at what the small lens was, and it wasn't well described at all. And I could work out it was a 24mm 2.8, which immediately pricked my ears up because okay, I don't have much of a love affair with Minolta lenses, as long-term viewers may be aware. But the 24 2.8 has always been on my list of good lenses, not just for a Minolta, but it's a great lens, full stop. And it's also the lens that's the I don't know what Leica call it, but it's the same optical block or whatever. It's the Leica. What's the designation? What do Leica call it?
The Leica R Lens.
Yeah.
So if it's f2.8, they would call it like the Elmerit.
That's it. Yeah, Elmerit. Yeah. So, but it's a Minolta, and so that's a good lens. But so that in itself, I was there thinking, oh, this could be worth it for me to head over there. And although when I looked on eBay, just seeing how much these 24 2.8s are going, they seem to have softened in price since the last time I looked. I haven't actually had one for ages. And they were knocking out around about £180 when I last bought one of these things, or sold one, I should say. And now you can get them in the low hundreds relatively easily, it seems. And which came as a bit of a surprise to me, but that was what it was. But more to the point, though, I looked at the photograph and I could see there's something different about this lens. And the first thing that gave it away was, I mean, and this is always the thing about when you're looking at lenses on eBay or wherever it is there's a lens for sale, is, you know, just look at what it says the lens actually is. Because lots of lenses have got other pieces of information on the lens ring on the front, on the nameplate, and you know, sometimes it'll tell you that like if it's a Rokkor lens, if it's a PF or a PG, that's telling you how many elements the lens has got, and the PG has got 7 elements, I think it is, and then the PF is 6. I think that's how it is, because it works. A is for 1, and which there isn't one, and B2 and C3 and so on. And you work your way through the alphabet. And the same goes with a lot of Olympus lenses. Use exactly the same kind of principle. So this one, so it's an MC Rokkor, but there's some letters in there as well, and the letters are VFC. I was thinking, I've not heard of a VFC. What's that? It must mean something, you know. And so you head over to Google and to eBay, and you find out, and you think, ooh, that's an interesting lens, and it's worth a few pounds. And so I got in touch and got over there as quickly as humanly possible, because this lens is really interesting, and I need I need help on actually what to do with this thing. Because this VFC stands for, I've forgotten.
Very freaking cool.
That could be one of the ways it's described as, but I reckon that the V stands for variable. F, I think that's probably focus, and let's go with C with control. Let's call it variable focus control, because that sounds like it could be that anyway. And it's got an extra dial on it. In the same place as like an Olympus lens would have the aperture ring at the front of the lens.
Wait, Simon! It's variable field curvature.
Oh, there you go. That's it. That's good news.
Wait, which lens are you talking about? I wasn't paying attention. Is this the 24mm?
Yeah,
24mm.
But the VFC.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The VFC.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
All right. So, and well, you're giving away what it does now. So you've got this extra ring on there. So there's your normal aperture ring, you've got your focus ring, but it's got another ring at the front. It's a very small one, and there are 2 little symbols on there. And so, and again, if you ever see something that's poorly advertised and you wonder what it is, well, if you're as nerdy as we are and you keep on staring at lenses for long enough, you spot these little differences. And sometimes it's nothing. It really just does not matter. But on other occasions, it really does. And this is one of those occasions, because it's got like almost like an unhappy smile and a happy smile either side of a dot. And And I don't know if it's a case of, well, it's a Minolta lens and you start off happy, but the result it gives you makes you unhappy. But I don't think that is actually the case in this for this lens. And what it does, it's indicating the shape of the well, it's talking about field curvature. So it's the shape of the plane, the plane of focus, isn't it? The shape of the plane of focus. So in its central position, it's telling us that the plane of focus is completely flat, which is totally conventional. But if you make it if you turn this to the left, if you're looking down on top of the camera, that sort of, it's like a dome shape. And what that's actually telling us is it's bending the field, the plane, or the field. It's giving you field curvature, and I've tried to actually make this do this, but it seems to work the opposite way to what I'm expecting it to do. But I think the idea behind it is that if you've got something in focus in the center, then if something is actually a little bit, something is to one side of it or both sides of it, of your subject matter, and they're also closer to you, and you're shooting at say 2.8, then you can still have all three subjects in focus. Right. Yeah. Except I'm not sure if this actually works the other way around, but yeah, because I'm still confused. But it bends that plane. And you can adjust it so it goes the opposite way as well. So one of the I was thinking, how on earth am I actually going to use this? When's it going to be useful? And I was thinking, well, actually, if I'm taking a picture of a dome of a church, and I want all of that in focus, but I'm in low light conditions, and I can't handhold my camera at f8 or whatever it is, then I can still shoot at 2.8 and bend the field of focus, the plane of focus, so that the top of the dome is in focus, and as the dome comes towards me down the sides, that's also in focus as well, and I'm pulling that off at a wider aperture. But other than that, I'm struggling to work out what on earth is it for. So that's interesting, right? Because the focus point in the center is never going to move. Yeah, that's right. And so if you are shooting like a conventional image where everything you want in focus is on the same plane, then adjusting that setting is just going to smear your edges. Yes. Right. Which, might be a cool effect for some images. But anytime where, so for example, if it's some kind of landscape where your foreground elements are on the sides, like two rocks on the edge or something. Yes. Then that might help put them within the depth of field. Or if you're shooting like, I don't know, a group of people, right, who are in like a curve, then you could get people at the edges who are closer to you more in focus. Yeah. How close does it focus? Pretty close. Let's have a look. I'm sure it's got a good. It's got it down as just under 30 centimeters. Oh, because I wonder what that would look like if you're shooting something really up close, like even a portrait or something, where if you have issues with, getting ears in focus as well as the eyes. Right. I'm just curious what that would look like if you did a really serious close up of someone's face and then bent the field curvature so that it almost looks like their whole face is in focus, and then the background is like blurred out. That could be interesting. Yeah. It's not going to be flattering, but it'll be interesting, definitely. No, not to flatter, just purely for effect, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's a weird feature because it's almost like tilt, but not. Like a similar application where you want your depth of field to your plane of focus to shift and move. Huh.
I don't think it's about the plane of focus. I think it's just it's compensating based on aperture to keep the edges sharper. You know what I mean? It's adjusting for the curvature at the selected aperture, I think is what it's doing. So you're getting like edge to edge sharpness, which you wouldn't get at every aperture. Right? So it's compensating so that at each aperture you can get the same sharpness, I think is what it's doing.
Huh. Then you would have to make a lot of adjustments constantly and sort of know what the
I think it's just you set the. I think you just probably set that ring based on what aperture you're at. I'm guessing. I gotta look at the see if I can find a picture of the ring. I think it's just a compensating for field curvature.
Yeah, but it's introduced. Well, yeah, but in theory though, when it's in its center position, it has no field curvature. So why would you need to compensate for something that should be flat in the first place?
Because it's going to be different at each aperture. You know what I mean? Let's see.
No.
I mean, I can envision scenarios where you'd want to use that. Most of them are in close-up situations where, like, you know, if you're shooting flowers, for example, right? You often have this issue where if you're close up, the flower that you're focused on is in focus and all the other flowers are blurred out. Mm-hmm. So you might want to bend the field curvature so that flowers towards the edges that are further away are in focus. Like, that makes sense.
Well, think about it from the perspective of Minolta. You know, they put this onto the market and it is a high-priced object. You know, I don't know how much this would have cost, but I mean, they're expensive now, and I assume they've always been expensive. So you would think that they would have put it on the market for a very specific reason for specific uses. And
right.
I'm not sure about taking pictures of flowers.
But so what the reason I think what Johnny says makes sense though is on the lens, which you got in front of you, right, Simon?
Yeah.
So where there's the, like, as you say, the sad face and the smiley face symbols,
yeah,
there are also depth of field markers that are color coded and they correspond to the depth of field scale, right?
Actually,
like next to the faces.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it does. Because I hadn't actually noticed that the symbols go down to the depth of field scale as well.
Yeah, so the blue symbols correspond with f8 on the depth of field scale, and then the yellow one corresponds with f16 on the depth of field scale.
Yeah, so I'm reading it. So basically, what it's compensating for is what your focus distance is, because you're going to have it's correcting the amount of field curvature that you would have if you took a picture of something, say, close up, right? It's correcting for the field curvature at those distances to make the image sharper across the plane of focus, right? Which right. It's not going to be the same at all focus distances. So it's correcting for the, you can correct based on the distance you're going to focus at to eliminate that field curvature.
When would you because you can set it to bend towards you or bend away from you. If you're at f8, for example, right? And then there's two f8 markers, one bending towards you, like one on the left of the scale and one on the right of the scale. How would you decide which one to use?
I don't know without seeing the lens. I have no idea. I don't even know what the controls are. I'm just reading that's, and it makes sense, is that it's just for correcting for field curvature for close near focus items.
Right.
Which, because the lens, it's not going to be perfect at every distance at every aperture. So it's a way to correct at different distances.
Wait, so I just sent a picture of the lens that I found online into our chat, so you can see where the markings are. But okay, so you've got the two depth of fields. Simon's got it in front of him, so it makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. But so there's some relationship then between the f8 depth of field markings and the blue markings on the variable field curvature scale.
Yeah. But
then there's two markings. And so my question is, when would you decide to bend it towards you at f8 versus bending it away from you at f8? Because surely
it depends on how much of a retard you want to be. I mean, you if you want to correct it, you'd probably turn it. in the direction of making things better, or if you want to be a super retard, you would make things much worse.
No, but at the same time, if you look at the, so Simon, you're the only one who can verify this with it in front of you. So if you look at the depth of field scale, right? On the edges of the depth of field scale, you have the smiley face and sad face again.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so that seems to indicate that on the close focus side of depth of field, you want to bend it towards you, and then on the far side of depth of field, you want to bend it away. And that makes no sense to me. Because surely the field curvature direction is constant, right?
No, the field curve. Well, but the visual appearance is going to be different depending on aperture and distance. That's
right.
Yeah.
But then again, the question is like, so Johnny, you have the picture now, right?
Yeah.
So you see the kind of sad face and smiley face they appear twice, one on the adjustment ring and one on the aperture ring, one on the depth of field scale. Sorry. So let's say I'm at f8, right? And something to do with close distance is pushing me towards sad face, and something to do with far distance is pushing you towards happy face, like curving the field curvature away from you. But when do you go left and when do you go right?
I think, again, without having I can only see the closed down markings. I can only see a hint of the markings. I think if you turn this lens, if we were to see what this lens looked like, focused at its minimum focus distance, we would see all of the markings, and it would probably make a lot more sense. Because I think what you would probably do is turn the adjustment ring to match the marks on the lens barrel to correct for the field curvature.
Yes. But again, okay, so but again, like, okay, so if you look at this picture of the lens, right, where it's set right now, it's approximately at 0.45 meters focus distance. And so at f8, the depth of field is from 0.4 on the left-hand side of the scale to like 0.5 on the right-hand side of the depth of field scale. Yeah? And on the 0.4 side, on the far end of the depth of field scale, you have sad face. And on the 0.5 side, on the far right end of the depth of field scale, you have happy face. And so the ring, you could go to the blue f8 mark on either side. And I just can't wrap my head around, like, if you're compensating for something, when do you know to go to the sad face f8 and when do you go to the smiley face f8? I realize that for our listeners, because they can't see this on the lens, we'll have to put a picture of this in our art or something, because otherwise it's going to make no sense.
If we had a picture of the lens that wasn't focused at infinity, we could actually see all the markings and it would make a lot more sense. But are you
looking at the same photograph, Johnny?
It's not infinity. It's at close focus.
Hold on. No.
In our chat.
Yeah, but it looks the same. So something is let's see. Right side of the scale, left side of the scale.
Perhaps I don't know what it is. It's just going to be when you want to adjust your field curvature. If you're at f8, you turn it to the blue mark and you choose which direction you wish it to go.
Yeah, and it's the same as a Nikon lens. It's the same marking. It's the same marking.
Well, Nikon do a
scheme as the Nikon lenses that have the circus colors on them. They even use the same circus colors.
Yeah, but the point being is at a smaller aperture, you've got to adjust the field curvature more. That's what that's saying to me, and it's not. It's, right. And you turn it into the direction that you wish it to work for the circumstances of the photograph that you're taking.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yes. Thank you, Simon.
But I still don't really understand why I would do one or the other. But that's a whole different matter.
So the answer is you decide. No, that makes sense, right? So if you're taking a picture of like a bunch of people seated at a table, and it's like a round table, right? Then if you're at f8, you're going to want to bend it towards you, and then you go to the left one.
I just struggle to understand what that just. There's got to be a really good. Well, I like to think there's a really good reason why they did that, because why Minolta did this, because as far as I'm aware, nobody else has ever done this.
Yeah, to eliminate field curvature so there's no distortion in the image. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. No, that's not pretty straightforward.
Right. Well,
yeah.
I don't think we're going to get any further with this one. So please write in or talk to us in the Facebook group. So, but yeah, that's my take on it. So, and seeing that Perry's sort of nodding his head at me, I'm feeling a whole lot more comfortable about that. So that's my lens. So what's been happening in Chicago?
I'm trying to think since we had the last podcast, because I have a couple new things, but I don't know if I've gotten them since the last podcast or not. I don't remember. So
let's assume yes, and we'll tell you if the answer is no.
Because I did get the Lomography version of the MR-2.
So you mentioned that you got that, but I don't think you'd used it by the last time you mentioned it.
Okay.
This is the 20 millimeter f5.6 thing.
Yeah, because I did get that. I got it and I used it, and it works. But it's silver, which sucks because you can't see any of the lens markings, which is what sucks about chrome finished lenses.
Why did you buy the new one other than build quality?
Because I like the old one so much. I figured I would get the new one also.
But wouldn't the old one be better?
No, they're really different actually. They render. I mean the old one flares a lot more because it's older and it has the coatings aren't as good, which to my eyes is actually preferable.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I'm using it on film, it would suck though because it would just flare everything out. But for digital, it's awesome. So, I've got the old one that I can use for digital and the new one to actually use for real cameras.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Except now I need to get the new one repainted black because it's useless. Because it has silver markings and you can't see them.
Wait, what do you mean you can't see them? So it's chrome, but the markings on the lens are also silver?
No, it's chrome and the markings are small and I can't see them anymore without putting reading glasses on.
Oh, I see.
Old. Yeah. So, which is what I hate about the old Nikon rangefinder lenses. They're all super high, super beautiful chrome, and you can't actually use the depth of field markings because you can't see them. I can't see them, which is why the black versions are so much, I think, more in demand because they make black rings with markings you can actually see is a much more preferred setup in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's nice. You just can't see the markings, like the depth of field markings and stuff. Especially if it's like a little bit dim or dark. So that's my only complaint. So
yeah.
Usability wise, it's not quite as friendly as the old one. So I mean, it's not like you have to focus it very much. There's like 3 points on the scale. I either focus it to 4 meters or 2 meters or 1.5 meters, depending on what I'm shooting at what aperture. But it would be nice to be able to see those markings.
Yeah.
So I've got to take my little label maker and make my own little markings to go in the barrel.
Yeah, that lens is super cool, but it still, I think, to me, is the champion of most unnecessarily long focus throw.
For sure. Yes, right.
Because it's a 20 millimeter f5.6. Like, you can literally set it to anywhere on the focus scale and you're kind of okay, right? And yet it has this absurdly long focus throw that goes from infinity to what, 0.3 meters. And I don't, they could have made that focus throw literally 2 centimeters and it would make no difference to the use of the lens.
They could, because it's really funny because it's, I think, you know what? I think it has to do with the fact that because of the way the optical design works, if you focus that lens at infinity, infinity is not in focus. Have you noticed this? Have you messed around with this, Perry?
I've not noticed that specifically.
If you are a aforementioned intellectually challenged person and just shoot everything at infinity, everything's going to be out of focus. Because A, that's not how you shoot a wide angle lens, and B, however this lens is designed, it focuses well past infinity at infinity. So
really?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you do it on, put it on your digital and you'll see it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Because both of mine are exactly the same. The new one and the old one both do the same thing. So at infinity, it's well out of focus because it just is. So I think the reason for the super long throw is because of the optical design. Like I think about wide angle lenses as having like your zone of focus is like a bubble. Like I think about a literal bubble shape of focus. Like I think about this with the Voigtlander, the 15 millimeter. It's like the focus is a bubble out that extends out from the lens, right? And if you, depending on where you focus that lens, is how much of that bubble is going to be sharply in focus on the film plane. So, which is why you don't really want to shoot the 15 millimeter walk around with it set to infinity, because you're shifting that bubble of focus like all the way forward.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, sort of.
Yeah. So, but you could, I think, because of the design, because the Russar has that really super odd design to it.
It's like Pobean based, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it has that really extreme lens design. I think that that kind of bubble of focus is adjusting. That is probably why it has that super, super long throw, is my guess. Because it actually really does kind of make a difference. Like if I try to shoot things that are 9 feet away, it makes a big difference if I have that lens set at 1.5 meters or at 3 meters. You know what I mean? I really see the difference. You would think that you could set it at 3 meters and just forget about it, but it not so much with that lens. It's really odd.
Okay, wait, you guys keep talking about this. I'm going to go grab mine. I don't believe you.
Wait, Simon's not talking about it at all. He's like, whatever. You're talking about bubbles. What's with the bubbles?
Yeah, well, where do we start? But I mean, the first point on that, saying that it doesn't focus to infinity, it focuses past infinity because of some optical quality of the lens.
I think the focus throw has to, I think because of the way the optics, because of the extreme curvature of the optics in that design, I think it needs to have the ability for the focus to extend well beyond infinity to correctly focus at infinity, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Not to me, at least, anyway. I'm thinking to myself, that if it doesn't focus at infinity, if it was doing it, well, no, I'm struggling to think of any good reason why it would do that.
Well, but it goes to 11, Simon.
Well, yeah, no, that is a good reason. It is the spinal tap lens.
I know what you're saying. I think you're saying, well, why don't then you just make the focus scale say infinity at infinity?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Right? I mean, is that basically what you're...
Yeah, unless it's... I mean, the only reason I know about sometimes lenses do strange things around infinity, it's like infrared.
Yeah.
But nobody's doing infrared with that lens, are they?
I don't know, but that would be super crazy.
No, it does. It doesn't. It doesn't even have an infrared marker.
Well, it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, but it does. There you go. That's proof. That's what it is. Because it's such an infrared lens. Everybody knows that, and you don't need to correct it because all you do is just whack it to infinity, and everything's in infrared focus.
Yeah, there.
Okay, let me check. So I got it mounted now on greatest camera of all time, the Sony. No, at infinity, mine focuses at infinity.
Well, there's something wrong with your camera.
Yeah.
Oh shit! No, wait.
Zoom.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, magnify, turn it to infinity, and then bring it back from infinity towards, say, 3 meters. It's going to be sharper as you bring it back off of infinity.
Oh, holy crap, you're right. So at infinity, it's sharpest when the distance scale is at like 6 meters.
Right.
What?
Exactly.
Okay, so there's this thing that's like 1.5 meters away. I'm going to focus on that. What distance? Wait, it's all in focus because it's f5.6 20 millimeters. I can't tell. What?
There's got to be a reason. We really need Jason Lane to be talking to us about this.
We're doing an absolutely great job to express just how little we know about lenses.
About lenses, yeah. Because this lens design, it's got to be something with the absolute insanity of this lens design, which as we found out talking to Vlad, it's originally an aerial reconnaissance lens design that's adapted down to, small format camera. But that's what the lenses with this design were originally intended to do. And I think it has to do with that getting that sharpest plane of focus at certain distances.
Yeah,
it has to have that super long throw.
Are you sure it's just not the Soviets doing their trick of putting numbers on things that you think are going to indicate something, and they mean something completely different, and they're just having a bit of a laugh with us?
That's entirely possible, also. But so to my point, this is why it's helpful with that lens to be able to actually see the lens markings, because it does make a difference.
Yeah, but they don't. But they lie. Or do
but they lie.
I mean, are they? Is it? I mean, Perry, you've got it there, and you can magnify it. Is it?
Yeah.
Can you put it on something that's it's a measured distance away, and see if it actually which is obviously not going to be at infinity, something that's a little bit closer, and see if it's actually giving you an accurate measurement.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to tell because the depth of field is so high.
Yeah.
But okay, so I've got it set to f5.6 right now, and I have it magnified right on the edge of the frame. So like the corner is where it's the worst.
So I'm just thinking, hold on. That depth of field is probably so deep it's probably focusing on your glasses at the moment, isn't it? Which is going to cause problems with if there's any scratches on it.
No, but hold on. When I set it to f5.6 on when I set infinity to f5.6 on the depth of field scale, which is a focus point of about 1.8 meters, the very edge, infinity is in fact sharpest roughly at that point. So I can see the effect that Johnny's talking about a lot more on the edge than I can in the center. But as a result, in the center, yes, it focuses slightly past infinity. So the depth of field markings seem to give you the best results on the edge.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's why I think the focus throw is so long. I think it's a function of that lens design itself, so that depending on again the whole idea of what distance you're focused at, because it does have presets for certain distances, right? Yours is the same. I think they're both set up that way. Both the new version and the old version. I could go get mine and confirm this really.
No, I don't see any presets. I don't know what that looks like.
All right, hold on a second. I'm gonna go grab her.
What? But the depth of field is so deep that I really can't tell. I'm focusing on something that's about 1.5 meters away, because this is my normal testing spot. Okay, that seems. I can't tell when it's sharp and if it's not sharp. It's all okay. That's no good. Okay, that's better. Okay. I don't think it matters. Like it's at 20 millimeter at 5.6. No matter what distance I focus on, everything is acceptable.
All right, I have the new silver version, the old black version, and a magnifying glass with me, so I can see all of the markings.
Wait, this is stupid. It doesn't matter. Everything is the depth of field is so big that it doesn't matter where I focus. Everything is acceptable.
Okay, so the new Russar, the new Russar has a marking. It has a red tick mark at 2.5, and it has a red tick mark at infinity, and it has a red tick mark at 0.65.
I don't have those markings on mine.
Yeah, so the new one has those markings. I just want to see. The old one has no such markings on it. So it's the new one that has the tick marks. Which would totally make sense, other than the fact that at infinity, it's not in focus at infinity. So,
but it's close enough, right? I don't get how you're seeing the difference.
It's. I mean, I'm splitting hairs on it, but it's definitely at infinity.
Yes. Okay. It's very minor, though. I mean, I'm pixel peeping on a A7R2, and the difference is minuscule.
It's minuscule, because I think they're just assuming that if you're stopped down, you're never going to see it. Depth of field wise. But I mean, if I turn it at 5.6, it's enough that it would be not as sharp.
A little bit.
Right?
I refuse to believe that the Soviets are this precise.
Anyway, aren't you glad you brought this up, Perry? And then Simon doubled down on it with his variable, his variable thing.
Field curvature, yeah.
Yeah, variable field curvature. And now I'm looking at my lens. So, okay, this effect is much stronger on my old Russar. The older version. It's definitely more out of focus at infinity than the new one. The new one's pretty darn close. The old one is out a decent amount.
I don't get how you're seeing this difference. I really don't. It's so minor.
Yeah, but it's there. It's observable, right? I mean, you're seeing it.
It's observable at 12.5 magnification on the Sony, and only observable if I'm like really looking for it.
Wait, what are you using it on, Johnny? On your Fuji?
Yeah.
I don't get how you're seeing the difference. Like, are you secretly a hardcore pixel peeper?
No, but I mean, what else are you going to do if it's on the digital? I mean, the stupid camera magnifies. Isn't that what the feature's for? Why would they give me that feature on the Fuji if they didn't want me to do it?
But on the flip side, I have this thing that's about 1.5 meters away from me.
Right.
And I just set my camera to infinity. I just set the lens to infinity, and then I just set the lens to 1.3 meters, and they look the same.
Yeah, because it's close. This is only when you're using it for aerial reconnaissance, as intended by the Soviet designers. That's my guess.
Okay.
So if you're in an airplane, then is infinity further away?
If you're in an airplane, yeah.
Yeah, is that how it works? There you go. I think we've answered it. I
have to say, interesting. That's an interesting thing you bring up, Simon, because the last time I was in an airplane, I took a bunch of photos with the Fuji X100, and I noticed that when I was at infinity, things were noticeably not as sharp, but when I manually focused back off infinity, they were much sharper. And I think it had to do with the windows on the like the distortion from the windows itself on the airplane.
But digital camera lenses they always go past infinity.
No, the Fuji one doesn't though. It's got a hard stop.
The X100?
Yeah.
Doesn't the focus ring like turn freely? No, it goes past infinity because autofocus lenses necessarily go past infinity because they need to like hunt.
So I think it was when I was autofocusing, the autofocus was noticeably not in focus. But then if I manually focused it back off, it was much sharper. And I think it must have had to do something with the distortion through the window itself. Is all I could figure.
Well, you get the other thing though, isn't it, with like astrophotography, and I'm not talking infrared now, but if you actually try and focus, I mean, you think about like the moon, for instance, you're taking a picture of the moon, and you've got to focus on the moon. You can't just stick it to infinity.
Mm-hmm.
So, is this a similar kind of thing? I wonder if it's got something to do with that. I don't know.
No, I think it's just modern lenses focus past infinity, especially if they're autofocus.
Yeah, no, but we're talking about old lenses here. I'm not talking about the X100 now. I'm talking about this MR-2 thing, which I think about as a car, by the way. But
are you not supposed to just stick it at infinity when you're doing astro?
No,
you're not.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I guess you magnify and look. Huh, weird.
So I just got to look something up real quick because we had that long chat about gladiators. That long meme chat. And hold on a second. I just need to respond to something in that chat here. I just have to find. Oh, here we go. Okay, hold on. I'm going to just find it real quick because I want to make sure I direct this to the correct person who made the comment.
This is in our Facebook group we're talking about.
This is in our Facebook group, yeah. Yes. So where is it? Oh, it's Pierre Ali. Can you help with the pronunciation, Perry?
It's Pierre Alex Favillier.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Pierre Ali sounds like some French Aladdin
Pierre Ali
adaptation.
All right. Well, Pierre Ali said, he was saying hopefully there'd be a new episode of the podcast this week, and I told him it wouldn't be nearly as good as the comment thread, and I stand by my promise. Pierre Ali, I stand by my promise. That was an epic comment thread. I was trying to figure out how many different movies or cultural touch points there were in that one conversation, and I found there's Gladiator, there's Borat, there's
Asterix. Yeah, that's down there.
Okay, there's Arrested Development, there's American Gladiator, there is, what else did I find in here? Oh, there's The Life of Brian was in there. There is Caligula is in there. I said The Big Lebowski, right? Life of Brian. What else? We got everything in that thread. It was great.
I'm digging it up now too. On a note unrelated to
Spartacus too. And Spartacus.
On a note unrelated to the thread here, you were mentioning, I don't know if you want to talk about this on the show, but you were mentioning before we started recording that you're playing with a Horizon.
Oh yeah, Robbie gave me a Horizon.
Are you going? Panos are back.
What's that?
Panos are back this year.
Panos, it's always Pano season, Perry. It's always Pano season.
I was going to say on that front, there's Ben Reynolds in the group has described it as the decade of panoramas. So yeah, we're still on target.
It's like the generation. It's like Generation P.
Yeah,
it's like a generational thing. But the thing that I noticed immediately, and Robbie said, "Oh yeah, it's got the viewfinder, but I never use it. And I'm like, well, yeah, it makes sense. I don't use there's no viewfinder on the Tokarev either, and you don't need one. But on the Horizon, I'm noticing the viewfinder, if the bubble level had a bubble in it, you can see the bubble level in the viewfinder. So like for me, like who cares about the viewfinder being accurate for framing? But the super cool thing would be you could see if you're level or not in the viewfinder. That's really cool. So this doesn't have a bubble though. So either need to find with a bubble or just stick a bubble level on the top of the camera, which is probably a much better solution.
It's also hugely frustrating when you do have the bubble and it works, and you get your shot framed up exactly as you want, and you can see that the bubble level is not where it needs to be, and you'll get to the point where it's just simply not possible to take the photograph that you want framed in the way you want it and have the bubble in the right place.
No, the only thing I care about is like it's the same with and I have a level rigged up on the Tokarev. I'm just looking for I just don't want the horizon to be tilted. I don't even care about the framing. I just don't want the framing. I don't want to be a tilted horizon loser. That's the only thing I care about. That's my only concern with that camera. I don't care what I take pictures of. I don't care if they're good. I just don't want them to have crooked horizons. So I feel like an idiot.
But that means half the time that means you actually can't compose the photograph correctly.
Well, there is no correctly composing that photograph. It doesn't have a viewfinder, the view that you get is not. It's superhuman. It's not a human angle of view. You know what I mean? So like to me, it's like it's not even. It's like in a realm. It's in a different realm altogether. It's not even really like, I don't know, a photograph.
Wait, but
so I don't really care. I don't care as long as it doesn't look crooked.
So like I remember, Simon, when I got my Horizon, we had this conversation about chasing the bubble. And I think he's right in the sense that, you know, do you trust your eyes or do you trust the bubble? Because when the bubble tells you you're straight,
trust the bubble. Only the bubble matters. You are a slave to the bubble. Worship the bubble. That's all that matters is the bubble. Yeah. So
I think that's right, because your eye, the bubble is going to be more accurate than your eye, but then you find yourself chasing the bubble a whole bunch, right? But then the image
you have to become one with the bubble, and then it's no problem.
But the image is so distorted that if the bubble is not perfectly in the middle, then your horizon is going to be curved anyway.
Yeah.
So there does come a point with this camera that like it doesn't matter having a level horizon, because unless the bubble is perfectly in the middle, in which case the horizon is perfectly in the middle, if you tilt it just down a little bit to put the horizon like, you know, in the lower half of the frame, then the horizon is going to be a smiley face.
But it's okay as long as it's not crooked. You know.
But does a crooked smiley face really detract from an image the same way that a crooked straight horizon
does? It would totally ruin it. Of course it matters. It would totally ruin it, because it would just be crooked. It would be, you know.
But can something be crooked if it's like already so curved?
Well, but the curvature and crooked are two different things.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I think on that note, let's.
If you were standing on the deck of the Titanic while it was sinking, okay, let's just work this out.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere with that. I'm not.
So if you're on the Titanic while it's sinking, yes, the horizon would be crooked.
But if you trusted the bubble, you'd be fine, because you'd have to turn the camera as the boat was listing more and further. You'd have to turn the camera more and more and more to keep it level. Right?
Yeah, that's how a bubble level would work.
Yeah, so you have to worship the bubble. Nothing matters but the bubble. That's all that matters. Because as you're sinking, you just want to have the horizon on the ocean be level. It can be distorted, but as long as it's level, it'll still look good. But if it was like distorted and then crooked, you'd be a loser.
So it just occurred to me on that, and then, Simon, this is the last thing I'll say about bubble levels. It just occurred to me that is a bubble level always flawless, like just by nature of the physics? Because Is a bubble level, what I'm trying to say is a bubble level the only perfect piece of photographic equipment that can never go out of calibration?
I think Johnny's already answered that.
Okay, I actually have
just the bubble.
Well, until the bubble proves that it's not trustworthy. Because I have a bubble level that's not level. Like I have a couple of them, and it doesn't sit 100% flat.
Right,
like
so that's the structure in that holds the bubble, but the bubble itself will always indicate the right spot. So you have to calibrate the level to the bubble.
I guess that's true.
Assuming the liquid is like not viscous. Anyway, screw it.
But I mean, what you're saying is, as long as the person who made the thing, didn't mess up and they did the job correctly.
That's right. But I guess the same as with the lens, right? As long as they made it correctly.
As long as they did, as long as they didn't like not center it correctly. As long as it's not like off axis or whatever.
Okay, I'm satisfied.
Well, we've solved every question that we brought up today.
Yeah,
didn't we?
We're doing really well on that. There's no two ways about it. Let's do a few, because we've got a few emails. Let's do some emails. Let's whiz through some emails before we disappear.
Oh crap! I thought we were really going to be done without doing the emails. I thought we had escaped doing the emails.
No,
but okay,
let's do a couple of them at least anyway.
All right. Hold on, I gotta go. I have to go back.
So there are some more that we'll put to one side, but there's a couple in there I think we should do.
All right, hold on. I gotta close out all these windows. Okay. Jacob Herman wrote us on March 4th, and his subject was older episodes, and he says, "Hello, Simon." Sorry, he wrote to Simon. "Hello, Simon. I'm hearing about your podcast from Mike Gutterman. I can't get to the older episodes. The RSS feed is only showing the last 100 episodes out there. Are the older ones still available? I asked the same of Sunny 16, and they had to make adjustment to their feed to show all. Looking forward to binging. Thanks, Jacob."
I have a sneaky feeling in our last podcast that we did together, I think I asked you the same thing. I'm sure we did.
Yeah, I thought we talked about this, didn't we?
It's some weird RSS thing that needs to be changed, and I was going to have a go at it, and then I was scared of breaking the website and then ran away from it.
All right, I'm just going to really quickly here, I'm going to test this.
I think, Simon, you blamed Apple for it.
Did you?
I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you did, and I said, yeah, that's right, and I said the solution is just go to the podcast website, and you can see all the episodes, which you can.
Yeah,
so
but it can be changed though, because it is in the settings that it only actually sends the last 100 episodes to Apple.
Oh,
it's a default setting with Podbean. I don't know why it does that, but that's just how it is.
And I thought I updated it or something. Hold on a second. I'm going to check this right now while we're in here. I thought that I had clicked something that updated that, but maybe I didn't. I thought I did. Yes, dashboard. I thought there was something there. I don't know. I don't ever use Apple for podcasts.
Yeah, but it's not on Apple's bit. It is on our site. But we don't have to do that now.
Sure we do. Advanced feed settings, episode number limit. It says 100 right here. Look at that. So how many episodes do you want to show on your feed? And I'm going to type every fucking one, and let's see if that works. How many do it? 100 to, I'm just going to set it to 200. I'll set it to 2,000. Oh, episode number field must be 999 or less. Guess what? It's now 999. That's problem is solved.
Yeah.
Okay. Feature request completed live on air.
And you didn't get any messages saying you've got to do something weird or anything like that?
Oh, shit. Except now it says, please input valid URL.
Here you go. This is where it all goes wrong.
Oh, well, the real problem there is if it only goes up to 999, then if we actually manage to do a show every single week, then after 19 years, the problem will show up again.
Set your podcast URL in the RSS feed. All right. Link URL in RSS2. What is RSS2? I wonder. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that.
Yes.
Something is strange.
But Sunny 16 managed to do it.
Did they? Well, yeah. But they're smart.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask Graham.
Graham is actually intelligent. That's the difference.
Yeah. We won't let him know that, but yeah, I will ask him. Okay, so we'll see what happened there. So
we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
But short answer is, in the meantime, you can go to the podcast website and get all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we do the one from Matt? Let's do that one, and then we'll call it a day.
All right. Matt Wright wrote us on February 9th. Subject: the annoying email asking for the donate link I can't find.
Yeah, just on a point there. This is the bit that you're actually reading out is like the third part of a conversation I was having with Matt. So it started off with how do I donate to you, and it's a simple case of go to coffee.com. I think it's then / Classic Lenses Podcast, and I think that's how you find it.
So I'm gonna pick it up then at his second paragraph, which is the relevant matter then at hand, because he says, while I have you, regarding the question in this week's podcast about using rangefinder lenses on mirrorless cameras, I think Perry has the right answer with the M10. For people who can't afford that, the one thing that got overlooked a little is that, at least in my experience, wide-angle rangefinder lenses are a mess on mirrorless cameras when shot at distance, but I know you already know that. Okay. Okay. The one nugget I can add is that I have been using the Colorivision thin sensor mod for the last several months on my Panasonic S1, and I use any and all rangefinder lenses without issue, except for a magenta cast that needs to be removed in post. It is epic. I don't know if that is at all interesting to you guys, but I am happy to share my experience if you or anyone else is interested. I don't know the Clary guys, but they might also have something to add. It is a long story about how I came to settle on the Panasonic S1, but you are correct. The EVF is way better than the Sony, and that was a big part of it. The mechanics of punching in and getting focus and getting out are also killer versus Sony. Sony is also essentially unusable with flash and manual focus lenses if you are shooting models. Finally, the Leica SL doesn't work with Pro Photo, so that was not an option. I don't think many people are drooling over the S1, so I got mine super cheap, and now I have dedicated body for MF lenses. The sensor mod kills the camera for native lenses. Last thing, you are correct. Last thing, you are correct. The external Leica digital finder is a complete piece of garbage. It is good for framing things with wide-angle lenses and is sort of a waist-level finder for focusing. It is unusable. Good on you for pointing that out. Thanks again, Matt. All right. Anything to add there?
Nope.
Perry? I mean, what's it? It's Matt's got a website, and I think I've gone off the page now. I have, but it's got a really cool font. I've got to say that because it looks suspiciously close to the font that Leica use on their lenses.
Yes, and it is Leica lenses for normalpeople.com.
Yes.
I mean, I don't really know anything about the thin sensor mod. I've heard of it. And I guess it deals with the same issue that the Sony's thick sensor stack thingy, filter thingy causes.
I think we have actually, I'm sure we've talked about this, but way back. I mean, this is an issue that goes back a long way as well. But we've never really gone into it in too much detail. But it's all to do with that business about how light hits the sensor, and digital likes to have light hitting the sensor from perpendicular to it, whereas it just doesn't matter with film. It can take it from whichever angle it feels like. Hence why some, in particular, wide angle lenses, and especially as lenses that have a rear element that is close, the closer that rear element is getting to the sensor, the light at the edges that's coming out of the back of that rear element is hitting the sensor at an increasingly oblique angle, which is and that's where you end up with smudges and fringing as well, and you just don't see that on film because film just laughs in the face of angled light in the way that digital doesn't.
Yeah. Although, I mean, just FYI, the magenta and green cast on the edge with wide angle lenses is actually worse on my digital Leica than on my Sony A7R2. The smearing is worse on the Sony. So the edges are sharper on the Leica, but the color cast is worse. The color cast is very well dealt with on the A7R2. I don't think it's the case on the A7 II. I think they changed something. And so you still get the weird color cast, but it's really not an issue on the Sony.
Right.
Even with the Russar that is stuck on it.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, I think we should start to wind things down, and this is the bit where I normally want to say thank you to those people that donated.
Sorry. Wait. Are we skipping the last email?
No, we can do it. Yeah. If we've got time to do it, we can do it. Okay. I mean, there are actually some others. I just realised I needed to get some others across to you, but they can just wait.
Well, either way, it's your call, man.
No. Let's do that one that I've sent, and then there are others we're going to do another time now.
Yeah, and this one's short.
Okay, this is from John Chabalco, I think is the correct pronunciation. Subject is classic lenses on digital cameras. It sounds suspiciously like the last email we just read. I just listened to the most recent episode. Thanks for taking my question. Of course, I need to push towards getting an M10 winky eye smiley face thing. I think if I go that route, the M10 is on my list. My main
M10M.
What's that? Oh, M10M. Yes, M10M.
The monochrome.
Yes. My takeaway from the discussion was that you just need to get comfortable with the workflow on the camera, which to me means that it's still not as simple as using a film camera. I'll probably go ahead and rent a body. I have a slew of AIS lenses, 2 and the Nikon Z7. Now 2 is one of the cameras I'll be interested in checking out. Someday shooting a digital body with an old lens could feel as simple as using a film body. I hope anyway. Cheers, John.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, you should definitely get an M10 monochrome because that is super cool. The Z7 Mark II, just a quick thing here, right? With all of these newer bodies that are coming out and are priced in the kind of $3,000 range, it just for me personally, if I were in the market for a new digital camera, it would really be a struggle for me to look past the GFX 50R, which is around that price range now. Just as a reference point. Yeah.
Well, certainly for our use case with using old lenses, certainly. I mean, because if you're predominantly a digital shooter, I think there are quite a few limitations with that Fuji. If you need all the bells and whistles that go with modern cameras, which that Fuji just is going to be lacking in.
Right.
But for people like us, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and of course you can always crop down to 35 millimeter equivalent sensor size and not deal with the coverage issue on some lenses. But just the other thing that the GFX 50R I can't get past is it has X-Pan mode, and Fuji needs to put that on every single one of their cameras because it's the greatest thing ever. And I think the only other digital camera that has it is the Hasselblad X1D. So go ahead and get yourself a digital X-Pan and life will be great. So M10 monochrome, GFX 50R.
Yeah. I mean, if my dream camera at the moment, if it was a digital, would be the GFX 100S, at the moment.
Yeah, but you only like that because it doesn't have a shutter speed dial because you're weird.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And a larger sensor. You know, those two things together. That's good. It's not too big either. It's a decent. I think it's a decent size from what I can see of it. So so that's another thing.
I think the key is rangefinder style camera versus rangefinder camera. Mm-hmm. And I would just have to say, having used an M10, I would not buy one if I had the money, because it's stupid. Because the rangefinder, because I still shot it like I keep wanting to say retard, and I know you people are all bent out of shape about that word, but I'm sorry. I grew up in the 80s and everything was retarded, okay? Because you shoot it like a retard. You fire it on machine gun mode. Like I didn't even bother trying to get focused when I was using that camera. I was just like, oh, I'll just take 5 shots in a row and one of them will be a focus. It's like it defeats the whole point of having a rangefinder. You know what I mean? Like the whole reason of the whole reason for it being what it is, like, to me, goes out the window when it's digital. I
agree. Totally.
Yeah, because I don't shoot it like a rangefinder camera. I just shoot it like any other stupid digital camera, which is, I'm going to just chimp eight shots on 5 frames per second, and I'll get one that's in really good focus, and I'll worry about it later. And I hate that. I hate that I would do that with a camera that expensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just might as well get a like the GFX 50 or something at that point. Because what's the difference? You're shooting it the same way, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, no, totally on board. I think I've sort of said half of the story before, but Hamish Gill handed over that camera. I think it was that camera, and it had the clip-on EVF, and he asked me to take a picture with it. And I was thinking, what do I do with this? Yeah, I was just stumped. I think, if it was film, I could have taken the photograph with it, but you're just thinking, why is this digital? It just didn't make any sense to me at all. And when I tried to use it as a digital camera, it was crap. So yeah, that's my view. But I like the monochrome. That's fair enough. But that does something different than other cameras don't do.
Yeah, get an MP and a really good scanner would be my advice, rather than an M10.
Yeah. Okay, let's start to finish things off. I'm on the coffee page, which actually they've redesigned everything. It took me a while to find it, so we haven't been on for a while. Yet people have still been sending money, which is very, very nice of you, I've got to say. So first one, going back to the 5th of February, was Christopher J. May. And he says, thanks for the great lens advice, gents. Looking forward to trying a bunch of your suggestions on the Z7 or Z7, as he may have bought. And then Randy Reed for you on Instagram says, just wondering, this on the 5th of February, just wondering what your favourite LTM collapsible lens would be for a Leica 3 camera. Just looking for some ideas. And I've been looking at the Canon 50mm 1.9. Any thoughts? Oh, we've got that. Means he's sneaked a question there just as we're trying to close the show. So quickly, collapsible LTM lenses. What would we go for? I haven't got a clue, by the way, so I'll default to you guys.
Oh man. Well, the Canon 50 1.9 Serenar is okay. Favorite. Oof. It depends on the look you're going for. I mean, I would actually go Leica on this one. The 50mm, like the version 1 Summicron, obviously, is great. The Sumar and the Sumitar have more of a vintage look.
I forgot about the Summicron. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. I've got one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's really good. There you go.
So yeah, it's a Summicron.
Johnny, any thoughts?
I don't like collapsible lenses. Period. I just don't like them. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I have no recommendation.
What if it's an uncoated collapsible sonar in Contax RF mount?
Yeah, no. Just give me the rigid lens.
The proper one.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take the rigid one.
Yeah. Okay, well, there you go. Then, as we heard earlier, Matt Wright, who says, thanks, guys, keep it up. Thank you, Matt. Then we've got a slew of donors from Brian Woolworth, a coffee supporter, who we don't know who he is, Hong Lee, and then we go to Mike Rose on the 18th of February saying, thank you, Simon, for your podcast. It's been a real highlight for me over the last 2 years. I feel your earlier shows were a little bit more friendly to the average user. Oh, there's more to this. There we go. Where are we? To open this up a bit more. Average to the average user, obtaining affordable classic lenses. Don't forget, the first 40 shows are still missing for Apple iPhone users. So hopefully we might.
Well, just go to the goddamn website, you people. How is this a problem? It's like turning the channel from 2 to 5.
Yeah, but if you,
good Lord.
Yeah, well, I don't actually know how you get.
You know what?
These...
Donate more money and maybe we'll change it. No, how about that? There's your answer.
No, we're changing
it. Give us more money and we'll fix it.
No, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it.
No, I'm not going to fix it because you people are too lazy. You don't deserve it.
No, it's fine. Let's just let everybody who wants to listen. They can listen. So Mike Epstein, thank you again, Mike. Gary Florshack, something like that. Thank you very much, and Lawrence Dunn as well. So thank you all. With a bit of luck, it won't be quite so long in between now and the next podcast, and I won't have to go through a whole list of names as I've just done. In fact, we've got a couple of things lined up, so hopefully they'll come off for us quite soon. So, Johnny, have you got any shout outs?
Oh, I don't think so. Sorry, probably yes, but
yeah, I know the feeling.
In theory, yes.
Yes, yeah. Likewise for me. How about you, Perry?
I don't have any shout-outs, but I have breaking news. While we have been recording, or just before, Leica has just announced an APO Summicron 35mm f2, a spherical that focuses down to 0.3 meters. Past the rangefinder coupling distance. So just FYI, guys, there's a new 35 Summicron on the street.
So that's going to be is that aimed at those poor deluded digital M10os?
You need a digital camera to focus past 0.7 meters accurately. Yeah, or you could use one of those old, strings.
Use the string. You get an M10. You get, how much is a lens? What's the MSRP on that lens there, Perry?
$8,195.
All right, so you're going to spend $8,000 on the lens, and you're going to spend $6,000 on the camera, and walk around with a string with a knot
beads,
on it.
With the beads, yeah.
So you can buy one. It's full of Leica dots. Is that what it is? Leica dots joined together with gold thread.
Oh, that's brilliant, dude! You got to start making that as an accessory. You can buy those little Leica red dots, because they fall off the lenses, and then just 3D print a string, and then put a bunch of Leica red dots on them. Sell it for $2,000.
Yeah,
2,000 pounds. Make it pounds.
Make it in gold. Make it gold.
Yeah. We can make that happen.
Yeah. So shout out to Leica.
Well done, Leica. Right, so Johnny, if people want to get in touch with the show, what's the best way to do that?
classiclenspodcast@gmail.com.
Sounds good.
Emails.
And if people want to do things with Instagram, because we don't actually have an Instagram feed of our own,
you know what? I haven't been on Instagram in like 2 years, but in theory, there's this thing called Best Vintage Lens.
There is,
and if they're still running,
they are, and
they are okay.
Yeah,
all right.
pretty pictures.
All right, they're our friends, so you can check them out on Instagram.
They had a picture today that creeped me out. It was like a close up of someone's face shot with 51.4 planar, and then they had a fish hook, like fishing bait, hanging from their mouth. And it was one of those triple hooks. And I hope that hook had broken off and they were just hanging it from their mouth. Because if you actually put a fish hook through your mouth for a photograph, you're either David Blaine or you're nuts. So So like, don't do that, for the sake of a photograph. It hurts. Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, go to best vintage lens.
Yeah, sounds like good advice. Okay then, so Perry, outside of this podcast, where can people see the things that you do?
You can find me on Instagram and Flickr at PerryG, and I will hopefully upload more photographs when I have them.
And Johnny, where's your porch?
North side Chicago, baby. Come on by.
That's it.
Come on by and say hello.
Okay, is there anything else we need to... I'll say goodbye to my bits and bobs. Is there anything else we need to do before we go? No. Sounds good to me. Well, I'm on Twitter as Simon4. I'm on Instagram as Simon Forster Photographic. You can also hear me every 2 weeks or so on the Large Format Photography podcast with Andrew Bartram and Eric Mathy. I've got a website, which is www.simonforster.co. No, it's not. It's simonforsterphotographic.co.uk, where you can buy a whole range of lens caps, and I've very recently added Pentax 110 lens caps. Because at least 2 people have asked me to make them, so I've now done it, and I need to sell some lens caps to recoup my investment in the 50mm 2.8 lens I bought to be able to make these lens caps. And that's just about it. Our music is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, and it's called Octo Blues. And that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's, month's, whatever it is show. And if you can, be like Carl.